All right, it's time for our weekly feature, Tech Base, and tonight we're talking to a company based in Gaborone in Botswana that's developed something like an app that doesn't in fact need internet connection. Let's find out how it works. Let's find out how this company, Brastorne Enterprises, can do what it says, connecting the unconnected. Via Skype, we're joined by the CEO of Brastorne Enterprises, Martin Stiumela. Martin, thank you for being with us. Are we oversimplifying there? You're talking about a USSD, some product that allows people to access things like Wikipedia without going through the internet. How is that possible?
Hello, hi SABC viewers. Thank you for having me, first of all. Yes, you're absolutely right. I don't think you're oversimplifying anything. You're just stating the obvious. That's exactly what we do. We've been able to come up with an application that really helps connect the unconnected via USSD technology. Doesn't use the internet at all. Works on any phone, especially the DOM phones as they're called. It's low-cost communication. And yeah, like you said, it doesn't use the internet at all. It just uses your basic mobile line connection, works through short codes, and allows you to interact and communicate with your friends, family members, and whoever who's also on the same line.
Is this, what we used to do to kind of get hold of your cell phone company, but now you have an app, you use the star and number, hashtag, things come back and forth, or is there something you need to attach to your phone? How does it work?
Absolutely. So nothing installed on your mobile phone. It's exactly what you just said in terms of it works through a shortcode, the same way that you use to communicate with your cell phone providers. We've just found a way of expanding on that and riding off that technology, connecting other people, and also going through APIs and going off to the internet and fetching information and sharing it with people. You know, it's just another connection channel that allows people to communicate.
Who benefits here? Who's your ideal user? And explain exactly what they can do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, like you said, so it's really mostly the underserved communities who can't really afford data charges and can't afford smartphones. They have the ability to interact, as you and I, with the internet. So they are primarily our focus and the biggest beneficiaries. But also, we also benefit because we get access to markets, we connect them to ecosystems. You mentioned farming. The farming community benefit greatly from this because, as you know, they are closest to the majority of the poor, and they get to advertise their goods, they get to buy and sell, and they compete with more established farmers within regions. So the use cases are all over, but we've seen them mostly in agriculture and the communication space for young people who just want low-cost communication.
And it's been said it's very powerful. Let's look at those farmers. If you're disconnected, if you're rural, if you're poor, but at least now you can have information on things like the weather. So say you want to find out what the weather patterns are going to be. What would it give us an example of your interaction with your phone to find out the weather?
So listen, you just, the same way you do with a normal application, the first time you would interact with your phone, dial the short code, tell us who you are, where you're based, what your interests are. And we then, it's our job to then give you relevant information based on what your criteria is. So our farmers get real-time alerts on weather, they get real-time alerts on commodity pricing, anything to do with diseases, pests, subsidies, anything that is within that interest. So if you are also interested in health, you could get the same. So like I said, the use case is you could use it in any industry.
Is it a SMS charge for them, or what sort of charges?
Cheaper than SMS. USSD is session-based. So what we do is we give them, it's about just under $1 for the month, and they get to interact unlimited. So it doesn't hurt the bandwidth or for mobile networks. It's very, very simple, basic technology. To give you an example, in Botswana, we have over 600,000 people that tried this application, where 150,000 use it every month. And messages sent within a minute could reach up to 300,000. And this does nothing to the network.
Yeah. And are you setting your sights beyond Botswana? Just how big is the potential market here in Africa?
It's huge. If you look at the mobile penetration, it's still very low in Africa. It's growing, and most people who get a mobile phone still get feature phones. So Africa is different, so we have to have relevant solutions that are relevant for Africa. So talking about our expansion plans, we're just moving into Madagascar. We're going into Guinea, Côte d'Ivoire, Mali, DRC. So we need to move quick because obviously we're running against data falling and so forth, but we still realize that there are those people that can afford that.
Yeah. Well, do you see a future? Because isn't the idea, you talk about connecting the unconnected, and this sounds a great solution in the interim, but isn't the idea, the goal, to have everybody connected to the internet?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely the idea. But I mean, as you and I know, we need to have interim solutions and long-term solutions. We can't all focus on the long-term solutions. Africa is vast, and there's a whole lot of area that cannot be covered by infrastructure. If you look at your DRCs, Angola, Botswana is a typical example. We've only got 2 million people in this country, but our country is bigger than France, the size of France. Is huge in terms of trying to cover a dispersed population. So it's very difficult to get the infrastructure here. So we know that internet is a necessity, but once you move out of the cities, you're only working on 2G. And if you're on 2G, you really can't access much. You can't even open a web page fast enough. So unfortunately, solutions such as ours are not only for the now, they're still for the midterm until there's another solution that comes up along.
So I'm sure a lot of people in Zimbabwe right now would like a solution like this. The internet has been cut off. Is there any sort of role to play in a situation like that, or is that too political for you?
Listen, nothing is too political for us because, as an African, we're all Africans, and what happens in Zimbabwe affects all of us, unfortunately. Obviously, if you look at the displacement of Zimbabweans in the diaspora and flooding into Botswana and South Africa, neighboring countries, we're taking the hit. So whatever happens in Zimbabwe, unfortunately, affects us. So it's not political, it's just the truth. And I would love for a solution like this to work in Zimbabwe. In fact, this would be the ideal solution for Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, Zimbabwe wasn't on our roadmap. Like I said, we were moving into Madagascar. But since the current situation in Zimbabwe, we've had a bit of interest from people in Zimbabwe looking to pioneer this solution. So we're always looking for partners. Anyone looking to launch the service in Zimbabwe, they could get in touch with us. And, not just Zimbabwe, but other parts of the continent that are affected that needs communication, low-cost communication for the vast majority of the populations.
Martin, you've obviously had a look at what is available across this continent. How would you assess the state of innovation in ICT in Africa, and maybe more specifically the state of socially responsible ICT in this continent?
Well, for me, I think okay. So I honestly think that we have moved closer to where we need to go, but we've been innovating the wrong way. So we've been focusing on solutions that mirror what happens in the first world countries, the Silicon Valleys that are very data hungry and so forth. We as Africans need to develop solutions for African problems. And I think this is why our application is so popular. and has done so well because it really addresses a basic need: communication, low-cost communication without data. So I challenge most innovators to really think about the challenges that Africa have before they start innovating.
Martin, you may be hearing some interference. Just very quickly, if you can still hear me, when are you coming to South Africa?
As soon as you'll have me.
Thank you very much. All right, let's end it there. African solutions for problems that this continent is facing. Very exciting technology there. That was Brastorne Enterprises CEO Martin Stiumela.